Tuesday, June 9th, 5 p.m. I'd like to open this meeting.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 8, 2020, by the emailing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for information and publication on January 8, 2020, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 8, 2020. The public will be allowed to participate electronically pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Please take note that this meeting is being live streamed and videotaped for future broadcast on Howell Television. Mr. Bonovich?
Present.
Ms. Richmond?
Present.
Mr. Russo?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Present. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and afterwards, if we could have a moment of silence for everyone that we've lost in COVID, and to thank everyone who has serviced us and has kept us healthy and safe. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of May 19, 2020?
I will make a motion to accept the minutes.
May I have a second?
A second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Okay, let's do our reports. So I have a couple things. Brian, I wanted to talk about the CDC Foundation.
Yes.
So I was in touch with the CDC Foundation and worked with them for first responders, and it was either we could receive money or supplies, PPE supplies. And so, Brian, how much are they giving us?
They've actually increased the amount. Originally, it was $200,000, and it's now $217,500.
Awesome.
So we're finalizing the paperwork. Once that's done, I'll get a firm commitment letter from them, and we can move ahead with that.
Very cool.
So thank you.
I wanted to talk about the farmers market, which is fabulous. It's really done well. You were there, right?
Yes.
I mean, we were all there. So that was really beautiful. And we were able to donate, the farmers market collected supplies and over $600 to donate to the food pantry, which was really nice of the people of Howell. That was wonderful. And in talking with the food pantry, I think they would like if we could change up the summer months, if we could give like barbecue supplies, like, condiments and things like that. Not fresh meat, or, they'll take care of all that, but like change it up for summer barbecues like 4th of July and things like that. So I thought that was a great idea if we could do that push. The Girl Scouts have a challenge for mayor and council. And so the Girl Scout challenge is purchasing boxes, or cases actually, of cookies and then donating them. And then what each case, or 3 cases or 5 cases, whatever it is, will tell you what it actually is going to be spent on. So for example, one case is $60, and it provides one girl with the opportunity to participate in equestrian programs. So that's really cool.
What if we purchase them and eat them ourselves? Is that part of the challenge, or?
I don't think they're going to complain. So if anybody is interested in doing that, I would do it collectively if we all wanted to get one big donation and have Tommy eat them.
Challenge accepted.
Only if we can live stream it. We can watch Tommy eat them live.
So we heard graduation, by July 3rd, it's going to be up to 500 people in a location. So Howell, you're having your graduations, it's going to turn out wonderfully, thank God. I would say that if there's any assistance, I'm going to offer myself or the rest of the council, I'm sure we could help with that. I wanted to mention June 14th is Pride Week, 14th to the 28th. So the LGBTQIA+ community out there, please enjoy your holiday. And you won't actually have the 500 people, but I think you could be in an area of 100 people, right?
Yeah, it's up to 100, and
So,
after the
so-
22nd is 250.
If there is a parade or a march, enjoy it. What else did I want to? Oh, Brian, in the businesses, how many, so when I spoke to Matt, he said that we had 4?
4 have completed the application process. They've had inspections and they're ready to go. There's a number of other businesses that are at varying points. Some have just made inquiries. Some have started the process and are gathering their diagrams and things like that that are required, consent from the property owners, that kind of thing.
Very cool.
So,
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So far, from our resolution council that we put forward for the outdoor businesses, it's 19 businesses. 4 have been approved, and a lot of them are jumping on it. Ivy League, Chapter House, Mulligan's, and Texas Roadhouse, already approved outdoor. They're going to be putting tents outside. Chapter House is going to be 17 tables, as well as Ivy League. Texas Roadhouse is going to put a tent, and the cabin's going to put 2 tents. So
That
Outdoor
number is going to be
dining.
tripled by the next time we meet here today.
yeah,
I
and
assure you,
outdoor
yep,
dining.
absolutely.
Howell's going to have some outdoor dining for a change.
Could you
so that's
imagine?
good.
I never in my life thought. Hope,
So we did good, guys.
That was
hope,
good.
but didn't
Good work.
think.
Good work.
I think that was it. Yeah, that's what I have at this point. So I'll go around. Deputy Mayor?
No, I'll reserve all my comments.
This is the session
I
for
understand.
discussion.
I
Okay.
understand.
Councilman Bonovich?
I'm just going to reiterate that. I guess I jumped the gun, but 19 restaurants and retail establishments have jumped on, and I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, even Kava Coffee even did something. I see Christie's is trying to do something. So I'll just read you the list of everyone who's inquired. Like I said, Ivy League, Chapter House, Mulligan's, Kava Coffee, IHOP, Sorrento's, Seasons, Christie's, Automobile Cafe, Texas Roadhouse, Gianna Bella's, the Dance Den, and this is something that we should discuss.
Yeah.
We passed a resolution for retail and restaurants, but we didn't think of Dance Den, and we didn't think of LA Fitness, and we didn't think of Gold's.
So I have clarification, because I was on the phone on Monday. We have a bi-weekly call, and I asked that question specifically. And they didn't spell it out, but they said that you could take, if you could do it outside or do half of the girls inside, then you're okay to.
And Tommy and I also
class.
talked about this too. I don't know, Joe, do we need to revise that again?
So Councilman Russo reached out and said that you two had spoken, and he asked, well, what about these businesses that aren't necessarily outdoor dining or outdoor retail sidewalk sales? I talked to Brian today, and we talked to our land use director, Matt Howard. We put our heads together. We're looking at the outdoor sales ordinance, and it applies to businesses within certain zones. We think that pretty much any business that wants to apply, we'll take a look at, and we'll see if it's a fit. And if we start getting businesses that we think are clearly sort of outside the scope of it, maybe we'll come back and amend the resolution. But in the interest of getting everybody up and running,
Yeah, specifically fitness facilities, and that's the real
Right.
issue. I think I heard rumors today the governor was going to speak on that today. He did not mention or give any guidance as to fitness facilities, but
Not yet.
I was told by Mr. Clark that we can include fitness facilities within our existing ordinance. There's no reason for an amendment, which is great news. So,
Yeah, so 3 of the 19 that stick out to me would be the Dance Den, Howell Academy of Dance, and Easy Fitness. And
Yeah.
and I think Mr. Howard today reached out, I think he reached out to Dan Sten and the other one, and possibly the third, the fitness.
So what happened, the other thing that I've asked about, because someone asked me, is also like the music stores, so that they, for musical instruction. So they didn't want to have music classes at the school because they share their instrument. I get that. But when you're taking musical instruction, usually you have your own flute or anything like that. And so they said as long as they maintain the 6 feet and there's not that many people in there, then it's okay that they could still have those classes. So maybe you want to add that as well. See, they didn't touch each and every different type of business, that's why.
Yeah.
We are taking a very, very liberal view of that interpretation
Okay.
to try and include every business, because, as you know, it's nearly impossible to list every different type. Another consideration that we were actually contemplating today, prior to the number changes that the governor announced, was the possibility of allowing certain businesses to use some of our parks. For example, a dance studio or even music lessons or fitness would be ideal for something that we could allow to use our parks, depending on scheduling.
That's a great idea.
You know, fitting into the parameters. So that was something we were actually discussing earlier today, but a lot of that's a moot point with today's announcement by the governor.
Yeah.
So then how does the funding COVID funding that we received, how does that affect? So at this point, I'm flipping just a little bit, I just had a thought in my head. So that the changes today are going to cause changes to COVID funding that's been received in Monmouth County,
Most likely, yes.
right? So I guess my question is when we're supposed to be putting it in June or July?
I have that as part of my report.
Oh, okay.
The county's first round closes on the 15th, so we've actually paused our COVID-related purchases. I had OEM calculating any salaries related to that, and we've been putting that together, so we'll be set to submit by the 16th, first thing in the morning.
Another question, I believe that they said, this was before today, that they said if restaurants wanted to have space in one of the parks, if they didn't have space, that we could do that. Is that still on the table? Just asking.
It is. That's more of a practical decision for them to have to,
Right.
cook off-site, that kind of thing.
I guess then who's responsible for electric and tents and tables and chairs?
They would be, as they are now. If they were to set up something in their parking lot, they're responsible to provide tents, chairs, tables, all that.
And do we require electricians, their certificate, that they have to be licensed? Do we require that of the restaurant?
If they're installing electricity, yeah.
That's
they
what-
would
yeah,
have to-
that's just what
Yeah,
I-
they would have to follow the proper permit procedure. Although most of them, I think it's just a matter of stringing lights, which would not
Well,
normally.
that would be here. I just meant like in the park, if it was going to happen, it was just an if.
It depends on the situation. Are they bringing a generator? Are they cooking with gas? Could trigger Fire Bureau inspections.
Okay.
I know a lot of those concepts were being applied in Main Street areas where
Yeah, that's why
they're
I'm
closing
asking the
streets,
questions.
things like that,
Yeah.
where they can do it right in front of their restaurant. Because of our geography, it's not quite as practical for that. That's why we were thinking some of these other businesses that we mentioned. Yeah, because I know our land use officer had a concern about, say, some of the dance studios, about having a number of small children out in the parking lot, being a safety issue. So that was why, we had suggested the thought of
That's a great
using
idea.
parks for that.
It's a great idea. Are you done?
I'll add to that. I mean, I was done, but I'll add to it.
I'm sorry.
With the extension of premises, just be clear that there is not only all land use permit, but if it involves alcohol, there's an ABC process as well. The permit is $75, and it's good to November 20th. So that's a separate application than it is with the township. So that's one thing I want to be clear. There's like two permits, one land use, and then one with ABC.
Yes.
So,
that-
okay. I'm
Yep.
good.
Sure. Well, I mean, if Governor Murphy would just open up New Jersey instead of violating executive orders, that's neither here nor there. But I have to say, the governing body, we've done great things to help our small businesses. I have to say thank you to everybody here who's brainstormed. And land use, I know Matt's been getting a lot of requests, because I'm getting them and I'm forwarding them to Matt. And I know Matt is working double time, trying to fit in different plans. And so Brian, guys, thank you for allowing Matt to work with our residents and our small businesses, because I know Matt's very regimented, and I know he likes things as such, as he should. So for him to have to think outside the box and work with our small businesses, that's huge. So thank you, everybody, for a collaborative effort.
Yeah, I just want to add about adding the fitness facilities to the ordinance. I think it's something that really has to be done immediately. And I guess my message would be to the fitness owners out there, or the business owners of gyms and facilities, take advantage of the ordinance. Put your application in immediately. I know Nick Catone's gym in Bricktown has done a great job utilizing their parking lot for outdoor classes. And I think there's a gym in Neptune as well. You know, we have CrossFit, we have LA Fitness, we got Gold's Gym with, I'm not a code guy, but a lot of space in their parking lot. So I ask you to please take advantage of that. And
Could they also move the equipment, like an actual equipment outside,
So,
or does that like
what-
balance?
what Nick Catone's gym, his gym did was I guess they use the parking spaces as little individual areas. And they have like mats outside, so a lot of it's like it's an MMA gym, so a lot of it was like
CrossFit?
you know, yeah, like shadow boxing, jumping jacks, you know, body
Mostly
weight
things you do by
exercises.
yourself.
Yeah, like crunches and push-ups like that. So there's a lot of things they can do to keep their membership active, and that's the goal here. So I'd also ask that, you know, if there is an issue with the word retail and fitness, keep in mind the karate gyms in Howell. We have a lot of karate studios here, and I know legally it could be, again, the word retail and the word fitness facility, it's gray, you know, and I think the argument can be made that we can obviously include it, but just if you need to look to other towns, I know Bricktown, and I know Neptune, I think Neptune City also drafted some kind of ordinance. I could be wrong, but just take a look over there if you have any issues. They'll be more than happy to speak to you.
That's
Thank you.
exactly why we took the position to very liberally interpret
I'm a
that.
former personal trainer. I met my wife at Retro Fitness. All right, I have to look out for my gym people. All right.
So I have a question, and this applies to obviously small businesses. It's kind of twofold. Have we reached out to the chamber at all? I mean, I know you've spoken, we've kind of all spoken to some of them, someone at different aspects. As far as reaching out to our small businesses, letting them know, because obviously not everybody's watching the meeting, not everybody is on social media. Are we reaching out and giving an effort to let them know what we're doing for those who, because I got a few people who called and said, I heard something and I'm not really sure, or what are you doing? Can we like do a blast of an email or have the chamber send it out to all their small businesses? Are we
Excellent
doing
idea.
something?
I have been in contact with Tom Comer from the chamber, communicated all this with him, even as far back as when we passed the resolution, before the governor even announced that we were going to be able to allow this. So I'm assuming he would communicate that because he did ask some follow-up questions. Additionally, I'm going to be using our code enforcement officers and some of our special police officers to go out as kind of an outreach to our businesses. We're coming up with a pamphlet that Councilman Bonovich designed for us, just with some of the general guidelines, the application process for this. It's a twofold thing. This outreach program is to get this information out there to some of our business owners, as well as to kind of ask their situation to find out, you know, which businesses are going to be able to reopen, which are closed permanently, you know, what their deciding factor is, you know, just so we can kind of get a feel for where we are with the business community. But that plan is being put in place,
Great.
you know, as we speak.
Good.
I do have a quick request, if I might. Brian, could you just reach out to the chamber again, explain to them our liberal idea on businesses, and keep him, and also just ask him to reach out to his businesses via their website or their phone chain, whatever they utilize best, just to make sure that the chamber is able to utilize all the things that we offer.
Sure.
Thanks.
Any reports?
I have just a few quick things. I already commented on we're wrapping up the first round of the Monmouth County CARES grant, calculating our spending, any overtime and personnel expenses related to that. We're currently working on a reopening plan effective June 15th. We will be opening the municipal building and the senior center by appointment only. We're in the process of, I'm getting feedback from various department heads as to any concerns, so we can make, our plan up from there. But, starting Monday, the 15th of June, we'll be reopening to the public by appointment, so.
It's full staff?
What's that?
Full staff?
Yes, full staff has been back in the building for about 2.5 weeks now.
Have there
Next-
been any issues since everybody's been back in the building? Any COVID issues?
No, none.
Excellent.
Correct. Next big topic, I know some of you have been asking regularly, summer camps. We're trying to hold off on making that decision as long as possible. However, with the guidance that's come out today, which we're still reviewing, it was a little bit more restrictive than we were hoping, anticipating, but it's looking like we're probably going to have to cancel. But I'm still communicating with our partners in the school, Stephen Fetcher, seeing what we can do. Alternately, he is trying to come up with some other smaller scale plans that if we do have to cancel our summer camp programs, various small projects that he'll be able to put together, over the summer. So that's in the works, but I have been holding off as long as possible, and I know a lot of parents are asking.
It's a hardship.
It is, and a lot of towns around us have already made the call to cancel.
Yeah.
We realize a lot of parents are depending on it. That's why we are holding off. But, it's seeming to be too restrictive for the environment that we operate our camps under. So I would expect within the next day or two to have a final decision on that. Lastly, we have been, as I've indicated to several of you during different conversations, because of the financial condition of the town, we are rolling out a voluntary furlough program. To date, we have had 32 employees sign up to participate in this. As you know, the information that comes forward from the state and federal government changes, on a daily moment's notice. So Jill has been working on a plan for that, and we'll be calculating how much we can anticipate to save while the employees are taking advantage of the different programs that are out there.
What's the duration of the furlough? Like, is there a time
Our
frame?
plan is through July 31st. That's when that stimulus money runs out, the extra $600 a week, so we were trying to time it with that. We still do have a hiring freeze in effect, so we have not hired any summer employees as we usually do. We do have some vacant positions that have gone unfilled so far, so that's still in the works. I don't have the final numbers until we can narrow down exactly who's furloughing for how much time. So I'll have that shortly. And that's all I have for my report.
Sounds good.
Joe?
Nothing for me.
Lou? Okay. Thank you. Okay, hearing of citizens.
Okay, I have a number of items that have come in. Some of them I did try and group together by topic, so just to facilitate things. The first one is from Jennifer Bondaru, submitted by email. Large portion of my property was illegally taken by the town, and now 10 years later, after multiple communications with the town acknowledging their wrongdoing, this issue has not been fixed. I am still left without the ability to use the property, which I have been left paying taxes on, I might add. I need the answer to the following questions. Who is ultimately responsible for the lack of follow-through? Who has allowed this level of incompetence to continue for more than 10 years? I am in the process of installing a pool, and I want to know the exact date this will be fixed so construction can begin. Who is taking ownership and accountability today to ensure this gets fixed? Starting tomorrow, I want a daily email with the update on the progress of this until it is fixed by whoever is taking ownership of the issue. Joe, did you want to comment on that?
And sure, I'll give a little bit of the history of this and then explain where everything currently stands. So when I first came aboard here in December of 2017, and then shortly after that, I was talking to Mr. Howard over in land use, and he brought this issue to my attention. Basically, what happened was numerous years ago, the township had an ordinance that set up 300-foot conservation easements in certain areas. The bonders happen to own a piece of property where that was done, a 300-foot conservation easement. The ordinance was challenged in court by two separate parties, and each of them won. The bonders were not one of those parties. So the ordinance was amended, and at the time then, you know, obviously, because the ordinance no longer existed, they wanted to adjust the size of the easement, and understandably so. When I first was looking at the issue, the mindset in the township was that they might have to go to court, because when it's a conservation easement or an easement that's for the public good, typically you go into chancery court, you know, you sue the town, and then the court will appoint an attorney to represent the public good. So that was one option that they had. It's extremely expensive, as you can imagine. So I took a look, did a little bit of legal research. There's another case out there that says when you have this kind of language, when it doesn't specifically mention the public good in the easement, then there's a little bit more wiggle room, and instead of going into court, you can go to the planning board, right? And the planning board can redraw the easement boundary. I read through their easement. It doesn't have those words for the public good, so my interpretation of it was, you know what, maybe they don't have to go to court. Maybe they don't have to go through all of this time and expense. So in May of 2018, I communicated with their attorney, and I told him, this is my interpretation of it. I know you were being told this. I think it's different. I sent him the case, and I said, you should probably talk to the planning board attorney so that, you know, if you can't make an application and get it done. Fast forward to 2019, there was no application made. And at that point, as everybody on the dais is aware, we began having issues with our conservation easements in town. So much so that we were informed by DEP that because we had open Green Acres grants at the time the conservation easements were created, all of the conservation easements were considered to be on our ROSI by the DEP. So the ROSI's are recreational and open space inventory. And what's this mean? What this means is that if we wanted to pull acreage off the ROSI, we have to go through a complex diversion process that involves applying to the DEP, going to the State House for approval, not necessarily getting approval. It's very infrequent that that even happens. And if it was to happen, we would have to essentially swap inland at a ratio. Let's say we were going to pull an acre out. We would have to designate anywhere from 2 up to 40 acres of township property as going on the ROSI to substitute for that. So that changes the landscape. And because they hadn't been to the planning board to have the easement boundary lines adjusted at the time, I reached out to their attorney and said, now we've got an issue. It's not going to be as easy as going to planning board because we may end up having to go through the diversion process. So what we've done since then, which is last year in 2019, Matt Howard and I have been in contact with the DEP fairly frequently. We've talked to them about the possibility of, in this limited situation where we have an ordinance that was overturned, where, you know, the easement boundary hadn't been redrawn, could we forego the diversion process, and will we just be able to allow the bonderoos to, you know, redraw the easement and then utilize the property? We went to Trenton before, I think it was in February, to talk to the DEP Green Acres people about this. We sent a follow-up letter basically laying out our position, which was forwarded to the bonderoo's attorney. And now, since all of the shutdowns and that, we haven't heard back from them. The most recent communication we had was with the DEP about a week ago, and we were told that the woman, our primary contact is a woman named Jessica Patterson, who's very helpful. She was going to reach out to the DEP in-house attorneys to find out what was going on with it, and we have not heard back yet. So we're hoping that DEP allows us to forego the diversion process and to just simply have the Bondaroos either go to the planning board, which they didn't do, or which their attorney didn't do in 2018, and avoid a lot of, extra headaches and cost and all that for everybody. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. Next is a comment from Mark Parisi, emailed in, actually several comments. As a follow-up regarding my prior questions about Turpac development resolution, why was council not made aware Turpac was under contract to purchase the 5 additional lots at the time resolution was passed? Why was the information not included in the resolution? The contract for Turpac to buy these properties was recorded on the county website on March 13th, which was 11 days before council passed the resolution on March 24th. What is the status of reopening and revision of developers agreement as previously discussed? Joe, you want to comment on that?
Sure. So, why was council not made aware that Turpac was under contract? It was always our understanding that Turpac owned it. It was Mr. Parisi at the last meeting who pointed out that the property may not have been owned by Turpac, and when we looked, we saw that there was actually deeds and that the contracts have been signed. So I don't know where that information came from, but we were of the understanding. It would have made no sense for us to allow, to pass a resolution regarding the sewer service amendment if the property wasn't owned by them. Secondly, what was it? The contract for Turpac. I think that answers all of them. What's the status of reopening and revision of developers' agreements? As previously discussed, our affordable housing attorney, Mr. Bear, is speaking with Turpac's attorneys, and I reached out to him for an update today, but I have not received one yet, so.
Thank you. At the last meeting, there were several public comments read into the record that were demeaning towards our mayor, both personally and professionally. These comments had nothing to do with the consent agenda or township business. They should not have been read into the record. Since public comments must now be submitted before the meeting, they can be screened for relevancy and appropriateness. If anyone from the public has attempted to say these comments in person, I would fully expect them to be cut off. No council persons should be subjected to this while sitting on the dais. We're in an election year, and these comments have no place in our council meetings. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to censor any comments coming in. We
No problem.
have to modify our, I've been attacked many times as well, so I can understand that.
And I'll just follow up quickly, too. I mean, I know that some of the comments, typically once or twice I've cut off people when their comments haven't been relevant to the agenda or whatever's under discussion. I know Ms. Smilek was in the past, and then subsequently was invited up again to kind of flesh out what she had wanted to say. She didn't, but that's okay. The problem with censoring is obviously there are First Amendment issues. I mean, I've handled, back when I was in private practice, I handled a case where the ACLU stepped in on behalf of a public commenter. It's extremely expensive. We don't want to be in the mix. It's not the most comfortable thing to be under attack. I understand that. And it's a little bit different because the public's not here now. I mean, typically when somebody comes up to the podium, they're able to sort of say what they say, put it in the record, and then we deal with it after we've heard it. But to censor different points of view and different sorts of speech ahead of the time, I think would only lead to problems. So I'll remind everybody, and I know I've said this many times, public discussion isn't necessarily a question and answer session. You can answer questions if you want, but you don't have to. And I think with some of the more uncomfortable comments, it's probably better just to let them be read into the record and we can move past it.
Bless you.
Or unless if whoever that's directed at wants to answer, that's certainly their prerogative as well.
Okay, continuing with Mr. Mark Parisi. Last comment is the Howell High School mascot has recently become a controversial issue. As one of your regional Board of Education representatives, I value everyone's opinion on this matter. It was brought to my attention yesterday that someone has been giving out my personal cell phone number without my permission. If anyone would like to contact me regarding this or any high school related matter, my district email is, and I'll spell it out. It's his first name, M-A-R-C, period, Parisi, P-A-R-I-S-I, at frhsd.com, and also available on the school district's website. Next comments are from Barbara Dixell. 9A1, why is there a waiver of the fee for sidewalk sales and outdoor dining until October 1, 2020? This is the resolution that we're waiving any application fee for our businesses related to the pandemic. 9A2, why is the tax collector preparing estimated tax bills in accordance with Public Law 1994, Chapter 72? Don't we get our tax bills to start paying per quarter starting August 1st and then pay each quarter? I do not understand estimated tax bills. Lou, you want to take this?
In light of all of the COVID issues with the state, it was highly recommended by local government services for towns to prepare estimated tax bills for the third quarter. I guess there's no guarantee that normally in order for us to get a certified tax rate, the state has to certify all of the budgets that are included within our levy, our local, the schools, county, fire districts, and such. Normally we would, when we would get a certified tax rate, then we would put that number into our program and obviously print the regular bills as such. We are permitted to basically issue a prelim for the third quarter, and for the fourth quarter we will have to send out a final, which will also have your prelim first and second quarter of the following year. We felt it was a prudent thing to do in an effort to have cash flow in order to continue to pay the employees and pay our liabilities, pay the schools, pay the county. We are required to pay them 100% of their levy. There has been no exception to that. So we heeded the state's advice and are in the process of establishing to submit the estimated tax bills. I could tell you, as of right now, all of the budgets that would be included in there have passed. So it is the assumption that besides the townships, that the tax rate that will be issued on the third quarter will be very similar to what the final will be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next, I'll combine two of her comments. She's asking about 9A4 and 9A5, Keystone Novelties. This is what we've been experiencing every year. It's temporary use permit. This is a company that does the sale of legal fireworks. There are certain fireworks that are now legal in New Jersey, so quite often they'll set up tent locations temporarily at various places around the state. That's what this is. Next, 9A20, authorize acceptance of performance guarantee, JP Morgan Chase, US Highway 9, North and Aldrich Road. There's a Gulf gas station on the corner that will be the site of a JP Morgan Chase Bank. According to the case SP 1062, please vote to deny this resolution 9A20 because this is the dumbest, most stupid place to put a major bank. If this is where Chase will be built directly on the corner of Route 9 North and Aldrich Road, it is my opinion that there will be traffic accidents and people getting hurt. This is just accepting the performance guarantee that certain improvements to the area will be made, usually curbing, things like that, sidewalks, that type of thing. Continuing on with Ms. Dixell, 9A27, this resolution provides for emergency temporary appropriations made to the 2020 temporary budget. This needs a separate vote. Why? What is Howell doing that needs a separate vote? Please explain. This is a temporary budget amendment that we do several times, usually throughout the spring months. We do have our regular budget on for a vote tonight. In the event that that should fail, this will allow us to continue to operate. It's a separate vote because it does require 4 affirmative votes for it to pass. Same as every other year and every other time we do this. 9B1, she's asking, what is Business Recovery Task Force and what will they be authorized to do for Howell? I think this has been discussed many times, many meetings. It's a group of volunteers that are made up of various community members to hopefully make recommendations for the town to help our businesses recover from the pandemic. Continuing on, she goes to the ordinances, 11.1, 11.2. If you let the builders and applicants get away with not having to pay towards the Sidewalk Trust Fund, you are leaving Howell wide open to widespread damage per the whims and wants of builders and applicants who just want to get their project passed, built, over and done with, and gone. You will leave Howell residents with damage and damaged personal property, and you have no say or recourse because you did away with the requirement of the builders and applicants pay to the Sidewalk Trust Fund. Next comment, what planning or zoning board person had a favorite builder or applicant to do this for? I think there may have been something on the May 5th planning board meeting about this. Finally, she comments, you make ordinances and resolutions to protect Howell and its residents. You do not remove the builders from paying the Sidewalk Trust Fund. This is plain stupid. Vote no. Moving on, there's a series of comments pertaining to the Burger Wynn property transfer. First is from a Rich McNally. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell and Township Manager Gagan, I would like an explanation why the town would want to buy 13.5 acres of land known as the Wynn Burger Tract. It is not particularly a nice piece of property as it has excessive wetlands and a railroad track bordering the property. There are certainly nicer parcels for open space available. What I find troubling is that the property is going to be purchased by Howell Township using money from the MCF, Monmouth Conservation Fund, suitable for open space land purchases. Although the price seemed reasonable at first, I noticed through public records that the property is owned by our current mayor's husband, Eric Berger, and a Rhonda A. Wind. The sale seems like an insider trading deal. Our current mayor selling her property for open space with funds coming from the MCF. They could sell the property on their own and not use taxpayer money. I don't know the legality of this type of sale, but it does not pass the smell test. Am I wrong with my assumptions? I have lived here many years and never remember such a deal. Open space money is still taxpayers' money. That doesn't look right to me. I think the public should hear the reason why we are buying swampland. Thank you, Rich McNally. Next comment. To Mayor Berger, public records indicate you got the property you were selling to the town for $1, and now you're trying to sell it to the town for nearly $50,000, which is outrageous. How could you do such a thing? This is taking advantage of the public, and you should be ashamed of yourself for such a gimmick. To avoid an embarrassing scandal for yourself and the town, you should do the right thing and withdraw the sale before state and federal authorities are called to investigate such behavior. This is a violation of the public trust and exactly why people have no faith in government and elected people. Do the right thing. Stop trying to profit on the backs of the taxpayers. Sincerely, Mary Johnson of Howell. Next comment is from Billy Thompson. Dear Howell Council, I'm respectfully submitting this question for the council meeting tonight. Councilperson Bonovich, the mayor is trying to get the town to give her $45,000 or more for property she owns. Based on the land in question, it is zoned ARE 6. It is 13 acres, so 2 homes could be built. However, the land is also partially wet, so it is questionable that it can be built upon at all. All of this does not make sense. Why would the town pay the sitting mayor $45,000 for land that can't be built on and that nature is likely already preserved? It is doubtful that the average resident could get such an insider-type deal. The town did not pay a penny for Bear Swamp years back when the town was able to secure all the land without paying anything for it since owners from the 1900s were long gone. This is well documented in the newspapers. And now the town wants to pay the sitting mayor $45,000 for land near Bear Swamp. This transaction for the mayor makes no sense, seems highly questionable and borderline unethical. Why are we spending town money on land that can't be developed when we can't afford it? Mr. Bonovich, are you in favor of what amounts to a payment to the mayor?
First of all, I'll answer that.
Okay.
I never thought I'd be questioned about preserving open space, number one. I'll always be for that, no matter who it is. Number two, AR6 is developable. So if whoever it may be, whoever's a property owner can sell it to be developed or not developed AR6. This is a way to preserve open space for our future. So I'll always be in favor of that. And you know what, Deputy Mayor, you actually asked to put this out to be appraised again. I would like to just also say that we as a council, we approved this purchase by an ordinance last year. Where was everybody last year? Does everyone know what we're voting on? So this was already approved. Now it's an election year, and this is personal. This is just an open space acquisition. I'll never be against that. This is not transfer of money. Let's stop hiding behind a personal attack on the mayor. Listen, if I own a piece of land, if anyone on this council owns a piece of land, you could develop it within the rules and regulations. You could sell it. It's your land. You do what you want. And this is an open space acquisition. It's an addition to Bear Swamp Park, which I never in my life would I think anyone be against open space in this town. That's enough.
Okay. I'd received one more comment on this topic. It's from a James Clark resident. Dear Mayor and Council, I understand you have a meeting tonight, June 9th, 2020. Accordingly, I have a question for you all. I watched the last council meeting on Channel 77 and was stunned to learn you are considering buying land from the mayor. I had to pause my TV and rewind it since I could not believe my ears when the mayor said, quote, she was losing money, end quote, on the deal. Needless to say, I was infuriated and outraged. Losing money? Are we the taxpayers here to help the mayor profit on our backs? We have 30 million people unemployed. Governor Murphy has hammered small businesses. People can't pay their bills, and the town is going to pay the mayor to buy her land. It's an outrage. I heard it may be Green Acres or other state money. However, newsflash, it's all taxpayer money. This transaction should not be allowed, and the mayor should withdraw this immediately. The people I speak to about this think it's outright scandalous. What is the status of this, and is going forward? Can this be stopped? Signed, a disgusted taxpayer, James Clark.
Okay, so I'm going to answer it right now,
Okay.
and I want to put it on the record. And I'm not answering it again because I've answered it already this meeting and the last. My husband's parents passed away. He inherited property. So did all of the grandchildren. There was a decision. Should we build on it or should we put it to Green Acres? Green Acres, to my mind, was better for Howell. That's what we did. We went through the county, and the county put through their process. They assessed the land, and it is what it is. Deputy Mayor approved it over 2 years ago. She now pulled it to her benefit. That's fine. God bless. When it comes in, it is what it is. Anybody else that has a piece of property in town that they want to put to Green Acres, and if Green Acres approves it and agrees with it, they can also sell to Green Acres and keep Howell green and keep our trees.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just to give a quick update on the question of the status of it, at the last meeting, we were directed to get an updated appraisal. That's been put out. We're waiting on a response for that.
Absolutely.
So that's
Thank you.
out. Okay. Moving on, a number of other comments. This from Crystal Diaz. Mayor Berger, I would like to say thank you for coming out and help the Shade Tree Commission with the Sapling Giveaway this year. Shade Tree Commission, with the help of DPW and a few volunteers, conducted our annual Sapling Giveaway this past Saturday, June 6th, from 7:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. This year, we were able to give away 1,000 saplings provided by the New Jersey Forestry Services as a recovery effort from the damage from Superstorm Sandy. The following varieties were distributed to residents: Mockernut Hickory, excuse me.
Mockernut.
This is definitely not my area of expertise. Cornelian Cherry, Persimmon, Northern Red Oak, and Bald Cypress. It is amazing that even with the pandemic taking place, we were able to continue such wonderful activities for the residents of Howell. This year we did have some saplings left over from the giveaway. I was able to bring those saplings to the farmers market and continue giving the trees away to Howell residents. All saplings were given a home. Thank you for everyone who came out this weekend. Thank you, Mayor Berger and DPW's Paul Novello, for spending the morning with us and keeping Howell green. Sincerely, Crystal Diaz, Chair, Howell Township Shade Tree Commission. Okay. Next is from Andrew Younger. Dear Mayor and Council, I am following up on the response Councilwoman Richmond gave at the May 5th meeting regarding my question as to the status of the State of Township report, which is required under our form of government per the DCA's rules. Please once again read the following into the record, which is found in the DCA manual. Sit tight. She quotes a number of our ordinances and laws. Title 40, Chapter 69A-95, Powers and Duty of Manager. The municipal manager shall, G, recommend to the municipal council for adoption such measures as he may deem necessary or expedient, keep the council advised of the financial condition of the municipality, and make reports to the council as requested by it, and at least once a year make an annual report of his work for the benefit of the council and the public. Here are some examples within our own resolutions, ordinances, and employee manuals also using the word shall. A, the director of EMS unit or division and the CFO of the township, in consultation with the township insurance specialist, shall be responsible for the plan's billing. C, the director of the division or unit and the CFO shall annually review the plan's cost accounting records. The CFO shall obtain the statewide industry average. D, the CFO shall annually, no later than March 1 on the year following adoption of this article, adjust the fee for services as set forth in 29-6B, herein pursuant to the recommendation of the director of the division or unit and the insurance consultant. F, a certified copy of this article shall be filed with the applicable federal and/or state agencies. 2-22, ordinances and resolutions. A, the clerk shall engross all ordinances and all resolutions of a permanent character in books to be provided for that purpose. After each ordinance, the clerk shall also engross and certify the proof of publication thereof as required by law. Each ordinance and resolution so engrossed shall be signed by the clerk, who shall attest that it was duly adopted upon a date stated, and when so signed, the engrossed copy shall be deemed to be a public record of the ordinance or resolution. Any omissions by the clerk to engross, sign, or certify as herein required shall not impair or affect the validity of any ordinance which has been duly adopted. B, biannually or more often if necessary, the clerk shall compile all the ordinances which then remain in force and effect. The clerk shall cause them to be prepared into a supplement to this chapter of the Township of Howell, New Jersey, and to be indexed. Procedure, employees may resign from their position by providing their written resignation to their department head. The department head shall forward the written resignation to the township manager, who in turn shall notify the township council at the next regular township meeting. Sexual harassment. One type of harassment is sexual harassment. The township prohibits sexual harassment of its employees in any form. Such conduct shall result in appropriate disciplinary action up to and including dismissal from employment. Sick leave continued. Accumulation of sick leave. Employees shall be entitled to accumulate unused sick leave without limitation, with the exception of retirement as set forth in these policies. Accumulated sick leave shall be forfeited upon separation from service. Now that all of these have been read into the record, I'd like to ask if any of the employees did not do these things which stated shall be done, would they be in violation of the ordinance, resolution, or employee manual of the Township of Howell and potential requirements by the state with things that shall be reported to the state? If they would be in violation, how is it not dereliction of duty for the manager to not do these things he's required to do? Specifically, state of the township report as required for the public. I don't care about his monthly reports for the Township Council. Those are not put on the website, shared in minutes, and available to the public as required. By Councilwoman Richmond stating that he doesn't have to do a report and that I can open the minutes is only placing an additional burden on the clerk's office and the attorney, who will have to pull the monthly reports, review, and redact any information requiring same. Who ensures this required annual report gets done as required under our form of government? Does the manager manage himself, or is the manager managed by the council? If the latter, why are you allowing this to happen? You have a responsibility to the taxpayers of the town to be transparent, and an annual state of the township, which is prepared by the prior manager, is a perfect way to do that. If the manager would not allow dereliction of duties by employees for not adhering to rules put in forth in the examples stated up above. Why are you allowing it regarding this report? How is there shall more important, enforceable, and required by him? Shall is a rather unambiguous word, leaving little room for interpretation. It is not, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. It means something must be done. Okay. Moving on, we have comments from Tina Smilek. Roadwork projects. At the May 19th meeting, Manager Gagan stated that it was untrue that the roadwork projects pulled by Councilwoman Richmond at the beginning of the year were due to an ethics issue. But at the May 5th meeting, Councilman Bonovich asked if it was due to the ethics issue, and Mr. Clark answered yes. Please review the video. So what is it, ethics or something else? And if something else, what? This is where Mr. Clark will say it's a personnel issue and cannot be discussed.
I'd like to jump in at this point. This is a personnel issue, and we shouldn't discuss it. And just for the record, I don't recall saying it was an ethics issue. I'll review the tape and see if I misspoke or not.
I believe she's mixing two different statements. At the time when Councilwoman Richmond did pull those, there was no ethics issues that were brought up at that point. They did get brought up at a later point. So how much has it cost us to have Mr. Herman sit home while paying him? Honestly, I don't always agree with him, but he was the only one up there that had the proper knowledge of what was going on in Howell as a whole. And whatever happened to the reason we needed an assistant manager in the first place was due to the size of Howell, and somebody needed to run the town when the manager was not around. Since you haven't been able to have executive session, how does council get updates on this? Which brings me to furloughs. I hear the town is allowing voluntary furloughs. Would like to know from each council member if they were made aware of the process before it was offered to employees, including the details of how this will work and the amount of money needed for this to be considered successful. Pause for answers. Let me know if anybody wants to comment. Is Howell self-insured for 100% of unemployment? If not, what percentage is the town responsible for unemployment costs? How will this affect our unemployment insurance costs? Will the town be paying benefits and pension payments? Will employees on furlough be charged for benefits based on their lower salary rate while being furloughed? How will this affect services as employees are just getting back to work after alternate schedules?
Got a question on that.
Sure.
How does the CARES Act fall into play with the furloughing?
We can apply for reimbursement through the federal program for our unemployment costs.
Thus saving us in the budget, correct?
Yes, I mean, immediately we're going to have some salary savings. They do need to the employees do need to pay their pension and full medical benefits contribution as if they were collecting their full salary. All the employees have been made aware of this.
So how much do we have to pay into the unemployment, 100%?
Yes.
And that's what we're looking to get back from
Yes.
CARES?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have an estimated number?
Not yet. That's still being calculated, like literally as recent as this afternoon. We're still filing everything. We have to file a plan with the state that needs to be approved. So I'll forward those numbers to you as soon as I have them.
So I just wanted to jump in and key on what Brian had just said. So this isn't truly a voluntary furlough where people are just leaving. We've talked to the unions, we've gotten their approval for it, and we're submitting our plan to the state so that it also gets approval. So it's being done fairly formally.
Evelyn?
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up, Mr. Clark, that in fact, all the facts are on the table for the employees. However, the unemployment issue, that still hasn't been resolved totally, correct? The additional monies per week?
By additional monies, do you mean the
While they're
600? So,
unemployment.
So we can't guarantee anybody's going to get unemployment. That's something that's decided at the state level by the Department of Labor. But by the same token, the department and the state that's going to be approving our program is the Department of Labor. So it seems a little incongruous for them to say okay to this furlough and then, then not permit unemployment.
So the employees required for the 40% of the work week And hopefully by the time, this is voluntary at this point, you have 30-plus people interested, although are not being held to the interest that they've shown. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, say that again? How?
These 30-plus people have not signed a document saying, I'm furloughed, I agree.
They've signed a document saying that they're in agreement with the terms of this, but each has been made aware of the various things that they'll be responsible for, like I mentioned, the pension payment, their health care, any voluntary deductions. It's up to them whether they want to pay them separate or temporarily stop paying them. As far as guaranteeing unemployment, they're made aware that that's out of our hands. We can't control that, although our best educated recommendation would be that they will get it, as Joe had mentioned.
Are they able to withdraw their interest if they choose to within, like, say, the next 10 days or?
Yes. Yes.
When are you going to cut this off, the voluntary?
Well, to maximize it, we're trying to get it through as quickly as
Right,
possible.
because July 31 is the end, so.
Correct.
Yeah,
So they
so-
can maximize that benefit.
And what's the hope of the start date of this?
I'm hoping next week.
Okay.
So just to follow up, the PUA and the furlough are matched both to July 31st.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Did you have?
Yeah, I do actually. Do we have any insight from the state as to whether there will be an extension on the matching funds?
We have not gotten anything on that yet.
I figured that, but when we do, could we put it out there?
Sure, absolutely.
I do have a question regarding furloughing too. What does that mean for our services here as far as DPW or anything like that?
Right.
Because we know obviously during COVID, when we cut some of our services back, people are still paying taxes and they don't understand. But if we're going, to a smaller staff or furloughing, is that going to affect our
It definitely is.
Services.
As I said already, we have a
wanna
hiring
put it on
freeze
the
in
record.
effect.
I'm sorry, Brian.
As I said, we already have a hiring freeze in effect, so we already do have some vacant positions that are not being filled at this time. Additionally, we usually hire a number of summer seasonal DPW staff that helps with grass cutting, things like that. So it is definitely going to have an impact between having the reduced staffing during the pandemic. We brought everyone back. We're trying to get things caught up before we get into this furlough scenario.
So I guess, and I see your wheels turning too a little bit. Just like small businesses, right? The reach, we think, because we know what's going on, we think that it reaches most people, and we all know that that's not the truth. I had mentioned to you, I don't know if we want to put it out there, we don't want to put it out there, do we want to, maybe we can get a little bit more patience from our residents, knowing the circumstances. I don't know how I feel about, giving them the message or not giving the message, but I kind of feel we need to do something to let them know, please be patient, we'll
Yes.
get back to you soon.
As soon as we have a finalized plan and I have a better idea of which departments will be more affected,
So-
we'll definitely.
That's one of my questions. So I have two questions.
Sure.
One, why furlough? Like, what is the reason? I mean, I understand there's a savings, but you might have a savings in financials, but you have a loss in services. So why furlough? That's the first question. And then the second question is there a breakout of the positions in the departments to know which departments will be more heavily affected than others?
Well, that's what I just said. As
Yes.
soon as I have the final
I'm sorry.
numbers,
I
which
was already
departments.
thinking the question.
For example, every employee has their own reasons whether they're taking advantage of this. Some, it may be a childcare issue.
I didn't know of it ever happening before, so that's why I asked why now.
The town did do mandatory furloughs a number of years ago.
Yes, I'm aware.
And I was brought up to speed on some of the mistakes that had been made during that time, and,
So, Brian, if you have just, say, 30 employees and 15 of them are from DPW,
We have a problem.
we have a problem, right? So
We're-
how are we managing that? Is that what you,
We're cutting the grass.
I don't know, I'll cut the grass. That's fine, pull an envelope and call me, I'll help. That's my question, is how many employees per department are we allowing to?
It's going to be subject to the needs of the department, where we have input from the department heads. Everybody that volunteers for the furlough program might not be approved for it. We may say, no, we have too many in DPW, we need to cut back and only allow
Needs
X number.
balance.
Then it becomes a seniority?
Yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be better first come, first serve versus seniority? I mean, come on.
This, you could argue every side of this.
I believe that's
We're trying to get
fair.
this done in a timely manner. I mean,
Yeah,
if
but-
we get to a situation where I'm dealing with union grievances and all that, this is going to get dragged out past July 31st, and we will have no benefit from it, no financial benefit. So, you know, we're trying to get things done as quickly as possible with directives changing from the state literally on an hourly basis. So,
So I guess
Yeah.
what we're really asking for is at least an assurance that you'll be given larger consideration to services for the community.
Yes.
You know, you don't take 30 people at a DPW, obviously.
Right.
I just think that's really, you know, we want to hear that. you know.
yes, as I said, we're
Yeah.
getting
I
input
know.
from our department heads, what they can modify their schedules with and what their
So-
needs are as well.
So it's not being just done, you know, namby-pamby. I mean, there's a science behind this that we're hoping is in the best interest of finances and for services.
Yes.
So,
And employees.
I think finances are for employees too. You know, I look at
Yeah,
this.
all three.
Yeah.
Did I answer all your questions, Mayor?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Continuing on with Tina Smilek's comments. Last time the town did furloughs, it ended up costing taxpayers more than they had saved. How much money are you looking to save by doing this? As soon as I have a finalized plan, I'll have that number. How long will furloughs last? Till July 31st. At the end of this process, I would like to request the actual figures are released to the public in detail. At the May 19th meeting, by a vote of 3-2, council appointed Rob Nicastro to MRSA. At that time, it was said he would have to waive his salary back to the town, and he would have to resign from the planning board. I don't believe that's accurate because the town isn't paying the salary. It was also said he had until the end of May to submit his resignation. Has his resignation been submitted for planning board? Mr. Johnson's resignation should be done as of June 1, 2020. Does that mean we currently have no Howell representation on MRSA for the second seat?
No,
Joe, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. So at the last meeting, when Mr. Russo had made the motion, I had opined that under the case law that I saw and under, you know, various ordinances, statutes, whatnot, that a planning board member in Howell could not simultaneously serve on MRSA. So that was my mindset. Looking at MRSA, I looked at the membership, and, you know, this issue had been flagged by a number of sources. I mean, it was online, it was here. I saw that there was a MRSA member who was also a Class 4 planning board member, just like Mr. Nicastro, in Freehold Township. So I reached out to the MRSA attorney and asked, did I miss something? You know, my analysis of it was based on this case and these legal sources, and I'm of the opinion that you can't do both, and yet here I see this person doing both. What did I miss? Did I miss something? Let me know. I heard back from him earlier this week. He is unaware of why the Freehold Township member is serving simultaneously, and he's reaching out to Freehold Township's attorney to find out if they have more light that they can shed on it, and I have not heard back from him yet. So currently, you know, I suppose the appointment of Mr. Nicastro is kind of out there in the ether while I wait to find out what exactly happened. And again, I'm still not convinced that a planning board member can serve on MRSA, but I'm waiting to hear back from them to see if maybe they know something that I have missed.
may I add?
Yes, ma'am.
I do know for certain that we do have representation on MRSA, and his name is Jesse Tantillo, as Howell has two representatives. So we are not without representation at this point in time. I believe it's one monthly meeting via telephone. So at least we have representation. I wouldn't want the public to think that we're out there without that.
Hey, carrying on, still with Tina Smilek.
Give me a second on that one. listen, our website on the first page, as soon as you go to MRSA, it says cannot be on the planning board. And Councilman Russo, you made that motion. It's black and white, it's right in front of your face. So you made the motion for Robert DeCastro. We have right on our website, it says can't be on the planning board. Last meeting, we said as of May 31st, DeCastro has to make a decision for planning board or MRSA. We still don't have the answers. Now we're finding other people that are on MRSA that probably shouldn't be on there either. So maybe MRSA got some problems more than we do.
I think you're probably right. I mean, my analysis is what it is. Unless I hear that I've missed something by way of a waiver and our statements are wrong, I'm going to stand by what I said, and it's that a planning board member can't simultaneously serve on MRSA. But
Yeah,
I have
there-
not
there's a
heard
lot of-
back from the MRSA attorney, who also happens to be the Freehold Township Planning Board attorney, so I can't go to yet another source. And he's speaking to the Freehold Township attorney. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure if there is such a waiver. So, you know, as of right now, I still think that what I said was correct.
Okay, moving on, still with Tina Smilek's comments. May 19th, ordinance 20-10. This ordinance was removed from the agenda due to Deputy Mayor O'Donnell wanting an updated assessed value of the property due to the current one being 2 years old. I would like to ask Deputy Mayor how old were the assessments were for the other 3 properties that were approved at the last meeting. Pause for Mayor to allow the Deputy Mayor to speak. This property was approved unanimously in 2019 through Ordinance 19-31, where Council approved the authorization of a payment. Also, approval was given for funding from the 2019 State House Commission, number 1321005, and the DEP stated the property was eligible for Green Acres funding. It is needed for the Howell to Lakewood transmission for NJ American Water, which has already paid the town $64,000. In the end, this property is set not to exceed $10,000 in taxpayer funds. The purchase was already approved, and this ordinance was just to allocate the funding. So tell me, did you not do your homework on this property when you first approved months ago, or did you not know you already approved the price, and this was just an ordinance for funding allocation? This is how lawsuits happen.
I'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
I think there's 3 other properties, all of which are under a year in their appraisal, as far as I am aware. Secondly, I'm fully aware of my original vote. However, and I'll say it again, a member of the public asked me to question it. Mr. McNally, by the way, is the same gentleman that asked me to bring up to the council workshop meetings. And after this barrage of unpleasantness, I suspect he'll never ask me to bring up anything again. However,
Whose barrage? His or mine?
just that it's come to an unsightly questions, answers, accusations. The man's 80 years old. He asked me to bring it up. I did that. I thought other people asked me to bring something up. I do that. I think it's my responsibility when somebody asks something that I bring it. So, yes, I am aware of the other appraisals being under a year old, to the best of my knowledge. So, as a citizen questioned this, Mrs. Smilek, I brought it forward.
So I'll just quickly amplify. You're correct. One of the deals we haven't done an appraisal yet because it's a brand-new one. That's the United Talmudic. That one just
That's
happened to
brand new,
come, but the other 2 are relatively recent vintage.
Thank you.
Continue, please.
Okay, again, still with Tina Smilek. When will you start having executive meetings again? We haven't had them due to DCA directives recommending that we should avoid having them and only conduct essential business. When will municipal office?
I have a question, though.
Sure.
I do think that they were beneficial,
I would
one.
agree.
And so why we couldn't have it out here? I mean, if we close the doors and it's just us, could we have an executive out here in lieu of having it in the back room?
Sure.
I mean, I think that we should get back to
I like that.
doing business. I
I
mean,
would
we need
agree.
to govern.
We're doing our best to try and be in compliance with the governor's
I get it.
orders.
But we need to govern, so.
I understand. When will municipal offices be open to the public? As I said, starting Monday, we're opening to the public by appointment only for the Municipal building and the Senior Center, obviously subject to changes in executive orders or seeing how things progress, will dictate how long before we're completely open to the public. Moving on, budget. When is the last time the council sat down as a group to discuss budget? I'd like to remind you, the operational budget has been kept under the 2% cap every year, including the police budget with the requested hires. Our police force was reduced back in 2005 and yet to be properly brought back to suitable numbers for a town our size. Yet the town's dependence on borrowing funds since 2005 and letting our bands evolve and grow year after year until we were required to start paying them down has been a large problem in raising taxes. Council has gotten stuck with clearing up past council's mess, including paying for the water infrastructure in Freewood Acres. Stop playing politics on your social media accounts and focus on what you're elected to do. You said regardless of politics, you would all work together in the best interest of Howell. In the beginning of the year, resident Adam Hockren stood up to speak and asked that you not make this year as tumultuous as past election years. Not only makes council look bad, it makes our town look bad. Remember, you don't just represent your party, you represent every resident, which is made up of both parties and unaffiliated voters. Hope you all stay well and that we will be able to get back to a normal council meeting in person soon. This recent format is lacking in many ways, although understood due to the pandemic. Okay. Just bear with me, a number of comments have come in since we started this, so I need to get caught up here. Next one from Andre DeGarmo. Good afternoon. I am hopeful that we've had time to get some answers on my email concerns from May 19th in regards to the proposed transfer station at 34 Randolph Road. The volume of on-site product seems to be increasing still. What is the limit for this site? Perhaps number of cubic yards. I believe 45 days has lapsed for the appeal on planning board's denial of the proposed mega warehouse known as the Monmouth Commerce Center. Can you please share what we know in regards to this project? Thank you. Be well and stay safe. Andre. Regarding the first part, I had been in communication with him. His concerns were forwarded to our code enforcement. They, in turn, did take a look at the site, but forwarded it to the county as they are the ones that have jurisdiction over that. So I communicated that with Mr. DeGarmo previously. Joe, do you want to comment on the Monmouth Commerce Center?
Sure.
The status of that?
So, Mr. DeGarmo had written that I believe the 45 days has lapsed for the appeal on planning board's denial of the mega warehouse and what has happened since. So, two things. First, we, meaning the township, received an appeal from the applicant as to certain of the professional fees. We denied it, and just recently they filed an appeal from that decision with the County Construction Board of Appeals. So that's as to various professional fees. There was also in Superior Court filed an action in lieu of prerogative writ containing a number of counts basically saying that the planning board was incorrect in their decision, seeking to have, basically a decision in their favor on it. And it also challenged various of our application fees. So that was filed probably like 2 weeks ago, and we just recently filed our answer. I don't know what's going to happen with it in terms of the courts because they're currently closed. I think those restrictions are going to be relaxed, and as with all of the prerogative writ actions, it's in front of the assignment Judge Thornton right now. So the short of it is we're being sued.
Can I just ask for a clarification?
Please.
I'm a member of the planning board. I did vote no on that. But my question is, they questioned the professional fees and asked for either a waiver or a reduction, correct?
That was the appeal to the governing body, and that's what's before the County Construction Board of Appeals. So it was the fees from the engineer and from the board attorney.
Was part of that the tree fund waiver they requested?
That's within the action in lieu of prerogative writ. That's one of the counts.
And then after this was advised to us, then they went to court?
Yeah, the lawsuit was filed shortly after the appeal to us was filed,
Okay.
but before the appeal to the county construction board.
I just
so-
wanted to be sure that we didn't yield and then they went further with action. That, I just wanted to be sure of the succession.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Next is a comment from Mark Bongiovanni. My suggestion would be to wait to hear from the district regarding how graduations take place. I do know there was some concern from the schools. They have been putting plans in place, and obviously it's very difficult when, you know, they have a plan in place and all of a sudden the governor makes a change to things. So obviously they're going to dictate their plans and how we're going forward.
I like to just appeal to that. A lot of the schools already, like I know Middle School North, they already sent out a letter saying that they will not hold graduations because at the time it was 25 people as a gathering. As of tomorrow morning, it's 100. As of the 22nd, it's 250. As of July 1st, it'll be 500. So I would ask, please, that these principals rethink that. Graduation's important to our kids.
You know
So
what,
we have some time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We all, I think, are on the same page with that. The problem is, as an educator and people who are part of a union, it becomes a really touchy thing. And I like when the mayor said that we could maybe step up and volunteer to help, because how many teachers you think are sticking around, because they've been working through this pandemic, whether it's remotely or not, are sticking around after their contracts are up to turn around and watch, you know, do a graduation 2 or 3 times, right? Because it probably has to be at least 2 or 3 times if we include everybody. And their contracts are up. They're in the middle of negotiations. It's 110 degrees. And then where? So there's a lot of things that I think that I would like to believe, knowing our district, especially Mr. Braverman, they're looking at all these things, but it just makes it very difficult to maneuver through this to make everybody happy, and that's across the state.
I agree,
think
but
it's
it's a pandemic.
I agree,
you
John.
know, And sometimes you have to work a little harder for the kids. That's it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, hopefully they'll come up
Hopefully
with a
we can.
plan
Yeah.
that's going to work.
Everybody's figuring things out. Everybody's being creative. I think that we can find a creative
Go
way.
back and redo the graduations that they couldn't do.
Yeah. The college one, yeah, I know. Tough. Okay, sorry, we're off our soapbox now.
Brian, please.
Okay. There's a number of comments that have come in from both Jennifer Bondaru and her husband, Nick. I'll try and keep up with them here because they're constantly sending emails. Evening, this is Jennifer Bondaru. Just to clarify, the reduction of conservation easement to 50 feet was approved at the planning board meeting on 7/18/2013. Please read the minutes of that meeting. Mr. Bondaru, evening, please confirm that the Bondaru property is on the Rossi, because when I did research this in the past, it is not on the list. I would like an answer from the council members if they agree with keeping property that was taken under an illegal ordinance. Jennifer Bondaru sent a picture of a letter from her attorney. Evening, please read the attached letter below and explain to me why this never happened. Then sends an email, please disregard the request to read the letter below. I will send the correct information to be read at the reading. And then Nick Bondaru sent in another letter that's 11 pages long, a letter from his attorney. If you'd like, I'll forward that to everybody. Or do you want 11 pages read?
No,
into the
please
record?
forward it.
Thank you. And that is all the public comments I have to this point.
So I'll just quickly answer that. It is on the Rossi, and we found that out from the DEP. It doesn't have to be formally included. They consider everything subject to a conservation easement to be on our Rossi because we had open Green Acres grants at the time. Whether it's listed on there or not, it is on the Rossi, and it is subject potentially to the diversion process. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have bothered going to see the DEP and talk to them about this. We could have solved it a lot easier, but it is. Secondly, the documents they sent about the planning board reducing the easement to 50 feet already. The problem with those, and this is why, you know, another application should have been made when I first talked to their attorney, was that resolution was subject to approval by the Township Council. The Township Council is one body that cannot grant approval to, you know, shortening or otherwise amending an easement. It just cannot be done that way. So it always would have been an open issue, and it never would have been done properly. So we are where we are right now. We are doing our very best to help the Bonderoos. But this is not something that's been just sort of sitting out there without attention by the township. There's a lot of moving parts to it. It's unfortunate that DEP is involved in the sense that it does complicate things, but we are working with them.
Okay.
That's all I have. Mayor, before you get to the consent agenda, I just want to remind you that Resolution 20-223, or 9A.27, should be pulled out for a separate vote, if you wouldn't mind, please.
That's the budget, right?
That's the temporary budget amendment that would require 4 affirmative votes to pass.
So 9A27 as a separate vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move 9A1 through 9A26.
Second?
I'll stop there. Can I
I'll
stop
second.
there? Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay.
Is there any discussion?
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Second.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
What? Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. You want to skip that and go to the next and do that after? How do you want to do it?
Whichever way you like.
Well, do 28 through 32.
Correct. Make the motion to move 9A27 to 9A32.
Have a second.
28,
What?
Hold on, 9A28, John. 9A27 is the temporary.
No, 9A20, no, you're not, you're correct, yeah. 9A28 through 9A32. I would have done
I'll
it
second.
differently. Yeah, I would have done it
Any
differently.
discussion on the motion? Okay.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Second.
Deputy Mayor
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
I had to do it.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Do you want to go back to that, or is that at the end? How do you want to do
Should
it?
that be done after the
After the
budget?
other
Yeah,
ones?
that should be right, I would imagine.
9A27.
Yeah.
Want to wait?
If that's the pleasure of the council, it can absolutely wait.
That depends on
until-
whether the budget passes or not.
Absolutely,
Okay, I got it.
exactly.
Yeah, it's not necessary if we pass it, right?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
All right.
Motion 9B.1.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to move 9B.1. I think I need a second.
I will second that.
Thank you. Quick discussion on this motion. I want to,
Actually, I'm sorry, just a point of clarification. Does someone else need to make that motion? It's his task force. He brought it to the table. So does someone else need to make the motion? I'm just asking about the right way to do it, that's all.
No, Councilman can make the motion. We have
Okay.
a second, so now we
Okay.
can go to discussion on the motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I do, I just want to thank all of our,
Discussion. Meaning, what are we talking about?
discussion on the
Do you have
motion.
any information on it?
I would like to first by thanking our applicants, if that's okay.
Yeah, I know, I just want to,
Okay.
go ahead.
I do want to thank, and this is a sincere thank you, to everybody who put in to be a part of this task force. I think this is going to be a really productive board. And I sincerely mean that every single person that put in, you have an open invite to attend these meetings, be a part of these meetings. I hate turning away volunteers, but I would ask that you come to the meeting, whether you're sitting, these meetings are open to the public. So whether you're sitting over in those seats, you can't see where I'm looking, but over there, or at the table, I'd like for you to be a part of this task force and of this program that we're putting on. That's really all I have. I just want to let everybody know that I would like them to be a part of this task force should they not be appointed. Now, do I make the appointments now, Joe?
If you have the appointments, you can move to appoint individuals to the
Is
task
it
force.
after we finish this one, though?
Discussion? Do we finish
I
the
mean,
discussion?
We didn't finish
Don't we
discussion.
didn't even vote on it.
Well, I
Well, no,
think,
there's a motion and
I think we got a little ahead of ourselves with this motion. The motion is to appoint members.
Correct.
And so why don't we name the members to be appointed? We'll
Correct.
amend the motion.
Thank you.
And The second, I assume, will stand.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead, Council.
So I'd like to make a motion to appoint the following members. There's one Chamber of Commerce member that's in the ordinance we passed, Mr. Tom Comer, he's the president of the Chamber of Commerce. The three business owner slots, Mr. Jeff Bassett, Mr. Steve Friedman, Mr. Dan Caralicchio. Two resident spots, Mr. Bill Stanton, Mr. Rob Seaman. Two council member spots, myself and Ms. Richmond. And the rest, I understand, are professionals, correct?
Correct. It's township manager, myself, and then we anticipate, somebody from one or two people from community development, because they're probably best positioned to work with the force.
And I will accept that motion that you changed. I will keep my second in force.
So you second the motion?
I do, the amendment, a motion.
You second the amendment to the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can we vote?
Well, do we have discussion now before we
We
vote?
just did.
No, I didn't say a
Now
word.
you open it up to the council.
We just opened it up to discussion, that's where
But-
Tom spoke.
Okay, so.
Yeah, but, all right,
really.
Joe, go ahead.
We have a second on the motion as amended. If there's further discussion on the motion as amended, we could have it, but if there's no discussion, we can go to a vote.
That is correct.
I just would like to say, thank you, Tommy, for putting this together and for helping our small businesses. And I think the governing body, I think we all have the same common goal. So whether we're on it, not on it, I appreciate that and thank you for your efforts.
This is
Absolutely.
usually where I get shut down, right? Right?
No, go. We don't, there's no vote on the floor, Councilman.
I'm good.
Have at it.
I'm good. I love the task force. I think it's great. I think that, I wish there was more positions than 6. I mean, what do we get, about 15 to 20 applications? They're all great people. I like to say what Tommy said. I think that I encourage everyone to come to these meetings. And if, once the schedule's posted, if I'm available, I'll be there too.
Absolutely. And also, council members obviously love to have everybody there.
Well, it is an open meeting. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's, so it is, obviously.
absolutely.
Anyone can attend from the public.
Absolutely.
So I'll just say quickly, part of the reason of
Quorum.
limiting the
I know.
membership was for quorum reasons. And
Okay.
so everybody who is interested should show up.
Got it.
We're ready? Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I can interrupt you for a moment. There were 2 other public comments, one that came in literally as we were closing the comment, the email came through, and there was another one that I had missed because it was sent to the clerk directly. If you wouldn't mind, there are
Please.
2 quick comments, I'll get them
Please.
on the record. The first one was again from James Clark, I believe the same one that commented earlier. Dear Mayor, how do you sit there and not address the acquisition of your property that benefits you, that is highly questionable and benefits you? You paid $1 and you're selling it for $50,000. How do you just snub the residents and ignore this and not respond? What do you have to hide? We deserve an answer, please. Thank you, James Clark. And then,
I actually don't own the property. I didn't pay for the property. It's not my property.
So I'll jump in quickly and amplify the mayor's comments on this one. The property's owned by her husband and I believe his sister. It was subject to an independent appraisal now too. So, people may have questions about it, but I can say that we're trying to keep the process as neat and clean as possible. We have Monmouth Conservation Foundation involved, and so I get why there may be questions, but we are doing what we need to do. And in fact, the mayor has, recused herself from a lot of the discussion and all of the votes, and so there you have it.
okay, and there was another one, I apologize for missing this. This was sent directly to the clerk from Alec Berger. Good afternoon. It has come to my attention that some members of the town committee have been using my last name in a slanderous type of way. My name is Alec Berger, and I am writing to you in the hopes that you could address the issue of #BurgerGate and any other name calling that could be counted as slander. I find it very childish and hurtful considering I have nothing to do with politics in this town, yet I have to hear these painful words. I find it very disrespectful, and I am truly ashamed of what our elected officials are doing. Okay, that concludes all the public comments. I apologize for my error.
Thank you. We have an ordinance 0-20-12, 11.1. I'll read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will do it. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 020-12 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 6/12/2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearings at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/14/2020 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the Municipal Building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Land Use, Article 25, Non-Residential Community Design Standards, Section 225, Streetscape Design Principles, subsection G, Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. 11.2. May I have a motion for the ordinance?
I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 020-13 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 6/12/2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/14/2020 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the Municipal Building.
Second.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Land Use, Article 14, Residential Design Standards, Section 132, Sidewalks of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
No.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No. 11.3, ordinance 0-20-14. May I have a motion?
Anybody else? Or you want-
I'll read it for you.
Okay, got it, thank you.
I'll get involved. Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-20-14 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the 6/12/2020 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 7/14/2020 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the Municipal Building.
I'll second.
Maybe
An
have
ordinance-
discussion? Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
God, my
You can have
apologies.
discussion.
Yeah, you can.
Go ahead.
I really want to thank Mr. Clark for bringing this to the forefront. The residents that have contacted me in the past 6 months, I've shared this with them, they're very grateful. The invasive species that they've suffered is a huge cost to them personally, so it's really nice to see responsibility really fall on the person that's responsible for the invasive species. So I thank you.
Title of ordinance? An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 180, Invasive Plants of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Okay. Resolution R-20-161, the 2020 municipal budget, local examination. Please forgive me, but what does that mean?
So, once on an every 3-year cycle, our budget would be on for state review. And in this year, we perform a local examination, a checklist per se. And this resolution is just certifying that local examination has been completed by myself.
It's like an audit?
For lack of a better way of saying it, yes.
May I have a motion to accept the budget resolution?
I will make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Resolution R-20-162, 2020 municipal budget.
I will make a motion to accept R 20-162.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
May I have a discussion? I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. We have all the employees that were requested are remained in this budget, is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Now, there were hires for a PD in 19 that were approved, but they were not
Not
hired.
yet filled, correct.
And there's also 2 sergeants that have left, I believe, and those need to be replaced as well. So do we have a plan on when we were able to do that? I believe PD has less staff than they did last year at this point in time.
I'll consult with the chief about it, if we can make certain moves internally, but we're not hiring any additional people at this point in time. I'm hoping things get back to normal sooner rather than later, and then we can return to, our plans.
Okay.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Ordinance 0-20-6, exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. Allow me.
Wait. Just need a moment.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Ordinance number 0-20-6, introduced and passed on first reading on 3/3/20 and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of 3/6/20 is submitted and is now noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
All right, make the motion that ordinance number 0-20-6 be finally passed and adopted, that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 6/12/20 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, on the ordinance.
Mayor, just for the record, there's no additional public comments that have come in on this, other than what was already read into the record.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Resolution R-20-163, adoption of the 2020 municipal budget.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the 2020 municipal budget.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This budget has certainly been a slippery budget. My 9 years I've spent on the Board of Ed with budgets, my 3 previous years here on the council, I've never seen a budget so fluid. And I know that it's been very difficult for administration to actually deal with. However, I'm really hoping that the full council supports this, because I do believe that in this budget, we have room, we are budgeting for police and for our EMS workers, and I think that safety for the township is foremost, and I believe that that's what everyone has at heart, is to take care of our citizens in the best manner we can. So to adopt this budget, I think, is totally, absolutely needed at this point in time. And I'm hoping that the full council also agrees that the safety of the town truly is at stake, and it's very important to adopt this budget at this time.
If I can quickly comment, Deputy Mayor, I hope we were able to answer all the questions that you've been firing off over the last few weeks and different scenarios that you were inquiring about. I know you were asking for certain recommendations that sometimes are hard to make, but I know you had asked about several different scenarios with different cuts or additions being put in there. So I hope you got all the information that you had requested.
I did, and I thank you for that. I'm just sorry that the numbers that we were expecting to have, as the weeks rolled by, I was hoping that we would have all those numbers. And COVID-19 certainly has done us no favors in this budget. But I am hopeful that the county, the state, the federal money will roll in, that the grants will be helping us in the future. So it's, with a great deal of hope that I believe that everyone in this country understands that this pandemic has just kicked us square in the pants, and we have done the best that we can do, and we have waited, I believe, as long as we possibly could. So without knowing when numbers are coming in and not having the crystal ball that I know the manager is always telling me, Evelyn, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't answer that because I don't know the date and I don't know the amount. But I think that the due diligence on this has been excellent. But I will say I've spent more time on this budget than I had, I said, for the 9 years on Board of Ed and for 12 years, I've spent more time on this budget than I did on 12 other budgets. But I appreciate all the time, and I wish we knew more. But in good faith, I think that the county, the state, and I think the federal government sees the needs, and I do believe that everyone has the best interests of all the citizens at heart. Our concern is the citizens here, and I think that moving on is the best thing to do at this point. Thank you.
May I have a brief comment? This is the first time in Howell's recent history that we passed a budget during a pandemic. I want to thank all of you. I know you've taken a lot of...
I don't think we've ever had a pandemic in Howell that we passed the budget.
Yeah, well, flu of 1812, I don't know, who knows. But, but I want to thank all of you for doing an amazing job, for answering my questions and the questions of all the governing body members. Thank you very much. Lou, I know we spoke, I think it was on Friday or Saturday. Thank you for taking that call over the weekend. I really do appreciate it. This is a pro-public safety budget. This is a fiscally responsible budget, and it comes at a time where I think that, public safety and fiscal responsibility is needed the most. And I want to thank the governing body. I want to thank the professionals. I want to thank all of our departments, from our police department, DPW, everybody. They adapted so quickly to the changes, and that's the reason why we were able to do this. I want to give a special shout out to the courts, because the concern for me, at least, with this budget was that we weren't receiving we weren't realizing, rather, the fees from the courts. We found out, I think it was yesterday or today, that the realization of fees wasn't as bad. And I want to give a shout out to our court staff for utilizing teleconferencing, phone conferencing, and making, continuing the operation of the courts. That was crucial, because the hits we took in April were not taken in May, and it only took a month to get that rolling. So I want to thank the courts. I want to thank even tech support in our senior center. Everybody came together, and I really do appreciate it. I spent a lot of time on this one, and I'm happy with the work that you guys did in the governing body. So thank you.
Are we ready?
I'm done.
May I?
Of course.
May I? Okay. Not to belabor what we've set up here, all of us, right? So I'm going to just keep it short. And I just want to, I know I do apologize. You've gotten many, many, many emails from me, and I know I pushed back a little bit, and I know I gave you guys a little bit of a hard time with some of the numbers and some of the figures, because I wanted to make sure that the residents knew that we put the time in, and it was easy. It definitely was not easy. I made a couple of recommendations, Brian, that I know that was difficult to make, but after all said and done, and we're here where we are, I think this is a really responsible budget. I think it's a good budget. I think we all did our due diligence. I think the residents should be happy with the flat rate and notice that we've kept what we could do to keep our police where they need to be to keep us safe. So thank you to everybody that put their heads together and had the time and the patience to work with us, help us understand in these days where we're going, and hopefully next year we could find some money somewhere so it doesn't hurt us as bad. But, so thank you, and I urge everybody to vote yes, and we need to move on, and that's that.
I'll add on real quick. I'm for this budget. Number one reason, the hires are there. Parks, DPW, things are a mess. We need these hires. PD, hey, look what's going on. These hires weren't in the budget, I'd have a problem, but they're there. I would like to also add that not only this year the hires are there, but in 2019, there were some hires. They weren't done, so let's get them done.
Just to clarify, sometimes there's timing with the chief's recommendations, so
Okay.
if he doesn't have a viable candidate right away, he will hold off on that until he has the right person for the job.
Well,
So keep
There
in
was
mind, there's
no
other,
pandemic in 19. 20 there is, but let's take care of,
and the chief didn't have a viable hire at that time, so that's
Okay.
why it wasn't filled.
okay.
Are we ready?
Ready?
I was ready.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich,
Yes.
Ms. Richmond,
Yes.
Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Absolutely. I think you guys did a great job. I appreciate what you did. You did a wonderful job this year. I've been looking at the budgets 4 years in a row.
Excuse me, point of order. I just have to really, I'm sorry, Mayor, but we asked for comments, you didn't comment. We finished the vote, and now you want to comment. I don't understand why you couldn't make your comments before you voted.
We
Don't-
gave-
don't-
Thank you, gentlemen. I vote yes. Thank you for your hard
Simple.
work.
We need to follow rules, that's all I'm saying. Thank
I
you.
know,
Okay.
Believe me. So
If you
when
know, then
speak
why are you not-
so
don't-
then
first of
when
all,
you
don't point
speak-
at me.
So then when you
No,
speak,
no,
you
no.
speak through the mayor. You
No.
cannot speak without
Well,
my
if you-
permission.
I cannot speak without your permission. I
You
absolutely
have to go
positively.
through the mayor.
So
Joe Clark, would you
All right.
please?
So
Thank you, sir.
typically, when we have the motion and a second, and there's discussion, that's when all the comments should happen during
Correct.
the vote is the vote, and
And we got away from that quite a few times
quite a
tonight.
few-
yeah,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
and we have in the past, and
We-
and
tonight we've
that's
been
why.
very
good.
I mean, if we
You're
tighten
right,
it
it's
up,
not.
the meetings tend to move further, quicker, and we end up without a lot of the headbutting at the end.
They needed something to argue with me about.
No, I don't.
Anyway,
Anyway.
any unfinished business, gentlemen?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Joe?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Lou?
I have nothing other than thank you.
Is it unfinished business related to a previous issue that we've dealt with?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this evening.
Okay.
All right, I just want to say thank you for the sidewalk ordinance. This was something that came out of the planning board. It's a class 3, I bring it to the planning board. I did speak to Chief Kudrick on this, who was a big proponent of this change. So I'm glad that it actually did change. But I will say, you have a seat on the planning board, Mayor. I know that you are able to designate it out, but if you can't be on the planning board, maybe you should watch the meetings, and then when these kinds of things come up, then you'll understand all of the logistics.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, but I vote the way I believe to vote, similar to yourself. So please, don't judge my voting.
I did not. I just suggested that the outside information may have been helpful to you.
May I have a motion to end the meeting?
So move, Mayor.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Absolutely.